Gentlemen, welcome to Halloween Daily. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Right on.
Thanks for having us.
I am a lifelong metalhead and a huge Randy Rhoads fan myself. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about this documentary. I watched it last night. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really sweet love letter to, just one of the all-time greats in music and absolutely in the guitar world. Can you guys tell me, first of all, I guess, Andre, first of all, tell me how this documentary came to be. What's kind of the origin of this, and why is it important to you to shine this light on Randy Rhoads right now?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a musician that transitioned into the film. Okay. And when I got into the film business, I couldn't play music anymore because I didn't have time to practice and blah, blah, blah. So I basically formed a music division in early 2000s, and I produced my first production was a movie about Darby Crash and the Germs called What We Do Is Secret. That was the first movie I produced. And then I've always just had love for music docs and the stories of, artists and bands. And Tracii, he came and got involved as we, towards the later parts of the documentary, because like Randy, I feel like he's this enigma, but also such a legend in the guitar world. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, particularly for Randy, his story, just a lot of people don't know it. And so I wanted to get it out there.
Absolutely. I love the part in the documentary. It's kind of near the end, but I agree. A lot of people don't know his backstory. They know kind of the Ozzy years, but I mean, all the stuff with Riot and just his upbringing, his mom's school, but I love the part at the end where it says he never stopped teaching, and I love that literally he never did, and he also never stopped taking lessons, which is awesome. And but I also love that he never stopped teaching in the sense that he inspired not just a generation, but I'd say guitar players ever since. So Tracii, can you speak a little bit on that? Just this influence that Randy has had on, like I said, pretty much every guitar player to play ever since.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it from a influence point of view, it's almost like every guitar player is influenced by Chuck Berry, right? They might not know it, but they are, somewhere down the line. And the thing that's really special about Randy is I don't feel like he took this set of influences that he had and molded his own style out of those influences. He truly had his own style. He really, 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 really wrote original music that was palatable for everybody, and that's, you can't even try to do that. If you try to be original, you sound like Primus, which is awesome, but it's not palatable, for everybody. It's just like, whoa, that's really weird. Mm-hmm. But Randy really had that thing where, unlike Jimmy Page, Jimmy Page could, make a soundscape and, produce from one song to the next, all these sounds. Randy's one of the only guitar players I know that just puts a guitar on and whoa, and he's not all fast guy, gymnastics. It's that his sound, his personality, and the notes he played, his melodic sense is so special. And, when you get, all the way through black metal, I hear so much Randy Rhoads in all of it, and I talk to some of those younger guitar players, they're not even really that aware of Randy Rhoads now at this point in time, but it's the proof of what you said, that influence that just kind of seamlessly goes from generation to generation of that style, which is almost like Ritchie Blackmore, almost like Michael Schenker, but Randy really tied it all together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also love the line in the documentary that he made classical cool, and how he really dove into that. And also it was kind of interesting that he really got into the classical later, like
that's right,
not so much early. It was more later he delved into it in the Ozzy years. can you both maybe speak just a little bit about how innovative that was at the time, and of course now that's part of that influence as well.
I think
Well,
Tracii should answer that.
yeah. Yeah. So, there is this misconception that Randy was classical first, that he had a classical upbringing and really understood theory and all these things while he was writing the early Quiet Riot stuff into Ozzy. And that's just not the case. He was a great rock guitar player who his sense of melody came, which might have come from the music school. He approached the guitar and writing music from major keys, not the relative minors. All the rest of us write in these minor keys. He really approached it from major keys, and they ended up sounding uber dark, which that's very original in itself. That's not a common thing. And that's why I made that little Ritchie Blackmore comparison, because Blackmore is very much that, has that vision towards writing. But yeah, I don't even remember what the question was, but that's what I'm saying.
Awesome. No, I think you covered it about the classical influence and bringing.
Oh yeah. So by the time he gets to really being bored on tour, let's just use that as an example. He reached out and started trying to get classical lessons here and there, and which I really do think was out of interest for classical music, because of the success of things like Diary of a Madman, D, Revelation, Mother Earth, these things. It's like, oh, how can I get better at this? How can I really become a classical guitar player on top of a rock guitar player? Because most agile rock guitar players can play a bit of classical. It's not that far a stretch. But where Randy was headed, that would have been a real stretch for a typical rock guitar player. And I think that he might have really found that nice solitude, the chaos of the road, and particularly Ozzy, sitting in a room with a classical guitar and a teacher and playing really pretty music, and really nice music. And I always thought that was cool, but he didn't start out that way. He ended up that way.
And I think you're right. That is kind of a misconception that a lot of people have kind of gotten over the years, and the documentary makes that clear that it's so different. But I love that he's taking lessons right up into the end and teaching right up to the end.
Yeah.
Andre, I was curious, how long did it take you to put all this together? And I know there's a lot of it was filmed before the documentary, but there's a lot of pre-existing footage there too.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to put all this together?
I mean, not as long, relatively. I spent a good year on it.
Okay.
Because I produce a lot of films, and sometimes I'm outside of the music side of things. Like I just did this movie, The Last Son, with Machine Gun Kelly and Sam Worthington, and when I was on location, I don't have time to work on it, but a year. But one thing that really helped me was there was an existing documentary that a very talented gentleman, Ron Sobel, made, that was in around 2012, 2013, that was about his trace. It was about basically Randy's early years in Quiet Riot, but it never really got released, and a lot of it wasn't cleared. So I was able to go in and license a lot of footage from that, which helped me. Otherwise, this would have taken 10 years.
Yeah, and having that footage, all that archival footage from the Quiet Riot years too. I mean, so much of that I had never seen.
Yeah, it's amazing. I loved when I saw that. That got me even more excited.
Yeah,
because again, it's just like Randy, his story, a lot of people don't know. It's this mystery. Even as when I was in my band, just talking about Randy was like talking about this immortal.
Yeah, absolutely. And the really nice thing that I really appreciate about the documentary is it really shows what a nice person Randy was.
Yes.
Like what a really gracious,
nice guy,
humble, not driven outwardly by ego. I mean, obviously he had a huge ego, or you don't become that musician, but he didn't wear that on his sleeve. He was a good guy first, wanted to let the music do the talking, And you know, he really comes across as that great guy, somebody that everybody wants to be friends with, you know. And to be a star, that's a huge quality to have, is, you know, just making everybody, whether they know you or not, want to know you. And that really comes across from a very young age with him.
Definitely. And I think it, like you said, it definitely comes across in this documentary that those qualities of him that people did gravitate to naturally. And
Right.
and he wasn't cocky. He was very humble always, even though he was the best in the room, and he knew it, but he, you know, that wasn't what it was about.
He still is the best in the room.
Exactly.
Well, also think about his patience and his love for teaching, like you mentioned. I mean, this guy's he's still teaching. I don't know too many other guitarists that were doing that.
Yeah, I can't think of any.
Well, yeah, but
I'm 56.
Well, there you go.
I've been teaching a long time.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, this is almost my time, I think, guys. But before we go, we are Halloween Daily News, where everything is Halloween. So if you'll indulge me for just a second, we always try to ask in these interviews, do you guys celebrate the Halloween holiday? And did you celebrate growing up as a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a good one.
Okay.
I grew up in a cult, okay, in Santa Barbara, and it was a weird hippie cult that had nothing to do with Halloween. But the leader of the cult, he was East Indian, you know, he's from Bombay.
Okay.
He, on every Halloween, as little kids, we dress up in our costumes and we had to go to his house in the mountains and parade around in our little costumes. So Halloween's always giving me.
Yeah, that's pretty wild,
wow.
Man.
I guess so. After that, wow,
yeah, man.
That was your childhood Halloweens. Oh man,
I mean, I did get to go trick or treating after that, but every Halloween we had to get in a car, drive a half hour to his house, parade around in our costumes, and then go trick or treating. I still don't really understand the correlation between Halloween and our religion, but it's definitely weird.
Wow.
That's the most original story I've ever heard in my life, Andre.
I think so.
It happened.
Wow.
That is wild. That is wild.
I can't even touch that story. So you know,
yeah.
I got candy, you know.
Well, that's another one we always ask. Favorite Halloween candy and favorite Halloween costume that you ever have worn.
Oh, that's tough. Let's see. I think I went, you know, all the way till I was 17 as Nikki Sixx. You know, I was wanting to be Nikki Sixx, and my kid, my older kid, he's 13 now. He always goes as a sumo wrestler, and my little kid, he doesn't know what Halloween is yet.
That's cool. You still got it to look forward to with him.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
For me, Gumby. My mom had a toy store when I was a kid, and we had a full Gumby outfit. And I used to have to stand in front of the store and be Gumby to try and get people in. And these gangsters came and actually tried to bend me one day. But I wore that costume one year. That was awesome for Halloween.
Awesome. That's a great one. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for indulging me on those Halloween questions and for your time today talking about this documentary. I think it's great, and I'm so happy that it's gonna expose more of Randy Rhoads' greatness and more of his story. Just like you said, it is a great story, and he was just a great guy. And I mean, it's just so tragically cut short. And but as it says in the documentary, he lives on in the music, and this is a testament to it. So thank you guys for that as well.
40 years ago, as of last month, is the anniversary of his tragic death. See the documentary, learn the story. May 6th, it comes out.
Nice.
Excellent. I hate to say goodbye, so I'm going to be the first to wish you both a happy Halloween 2022.
Thanks, you too, man.
Cult memories. Thanks, bro.
See ya.
Thanks, guys, so much.
Thanks.